Good morning. Thank you very much for your presence for the talk today. When I got the invitation to give this talk during last week, I was going through a busy schedule in the university. Even though it was a busy schedule, I thought that it's always a good thing, pleasure for me to come here and share my knowledge with you. So with this, I don't think I have got something special to share with you, but since we just passed few days ago a special event here in America, Halloween, I thought it's better to talk about not about the Halloween. This is my first time I experienced Halloween in America. So I'm going to address in my speech only one aspect of this celebration, Halloween, not the whole incident or the history in relevance to the Halloween. Because when I was in last year here, I didn't notice that much things in relevance to Halloween, because this is my second semester in the university. So the students representing different countries are attending the courses, taking different degree courses in the university. So they did celebrate the Halloween in a grand scale in the university. So this is my first time actually I saw such a thing in here in America. So I'm going to talk about, as I told you earlier, only one aspect in relevance to this Halloween. It is fear. Many other facets involved in connection with Halloween here. They may be wearing, being dressed up with scary costumes, masks, and like this, all these things. So I'm not going to talk about actually the history or the the evolution of this incident, Halloween here in America, since you all are accustomed, well familiar with this culture. It's something unnecessary. But I Google search it, I had some sort of knowledge about Halloween. That's why I thought of it's better to talk about this aspect of fear in our lives. So what has got in Buddhism, especially in Buddhist teaching, to talk about fear. But before that, I would like to share with you one of my personal experiences I had to encounter when I was in Malaysia in 2009 or 2010. So this is somewhat in relevance to actually that aspect I am going to talk with you today. Halloween is a festival here in which we can see some sort of fear when it comes to many cultures representing different parts in the world. Fear has got in all these cultures. Maybe it is Halloween, but when it comes to another culture, another continent in the world, maybe they are celebrating it in a different way. In our country, since I am from Sri Lanka, in our country we do also have these sort of things, but the name for it is quite different, not Halloween, but something else. We do also have all these things. So the dead, this is all about the dead returning to the earth. So we did celebrate it last October 31st. So in every culture, in every country, people do believe some sort of spirits, ghosts, wandering in this world. So even in my culture, even though it is a Buddhist culture in Sri Lanka, we do believe in ghosts and spirits. When it comes to the ordinary people, they have different experiences, but this is not the right time for me to share, to reveal all these things. Once after a person is dead, even in Sri Lanka, we do believe, suppose if he is not reborn in a good place, in a good realm, for instance, in a human world or among the gods, definitely there may be the chance, possibility of becoming a spirit or ghost. So once after a person dies, even in our culture, we pass merits by doing a lot of good deeds, meritorious deeds. We transfer merits to those dear departed, believing that maybe they are still in waiting as a ghost or a spirit, seeking our help, seeking our merits. So with all these things, what I have learned today is all this, this is a belief. This is completely totally a belief. We don't know how far it is true. We don't know whether what we believe as ghosts or spirits are surrounding or are wandering here in this world. But this is a belief, a kind of conception that has been deep-rooted in the human consciousness for a long time. So fear is also one of the aspects, as I told you earlier, which is commonly seen in this concept, in this belief. From the beginning, when the man came to this earth, when his existence took place, from that time, this fear, I think, has been involved, and we are living with this fear. But I'm not going to talk about that one. It is something also unnecessary. Before I come to my topic, I would like to pinpoint only 2 points that has been dealt in detail even in the teachings of the Buddha. Fear could be arisen due to 2 reasons. The first one is the feeling of vulnerability for external things, external phenomena. That is the first one. Then the second one is it is the state of defilements which occur in our mind always. The first one is the external stimuli, and the second one is the internal inside perturbs, maybe nervousness, maybe defilements, impurities, whatever the way we call it. So those are the 2 aspects, 2 facets we can see even in the Buddha's teaching that has been dealt in detail. When I was going through this specific topic, I found a great discourse that I had read many years ago when I was in Sri Lanka. maybe 10 years back. This sutra is called Fear and Dread. In Pali it is called the Bhaya-bhairava. You can find this in Majjhima Nikaya, which is the middle length discourses of the Buddha. So when you read this sutra, this is the fourth one. Remember, this is the fourth sutra in the Majjhima Nikaya, Fear and Dread. Buddha says in a very interesting way how fear comes to our mind, how we are dealing with fear in certain times in our lives. This is a personal experience. Actually, this is a biography of the Buddha. I mean, this particular sutra, Fear and Dread, the discourse of Fear and Dread is a biography of the Buddha. He explains in this sutra how he encountered some sort of fear in his life before he got his enlightenment. In other words, when he was meditating, when he was working very hard for the last enlightenment, as an aspirant of the Buddha, we call him as a bodhisattva. He says during that period of time, as an aspirant, he also encountered certain level of fear while he was meditating in thicket jungles. Before I come to that incident, I think I want to share with a very interesting experience I had to face in my life. By the time I faced this experience, I was 9 or 10 years old, almost 9 or 10 years. One day, my mom, she asked me to take some food to her father, my grandfather. He was living in a faraway place from my village. Approximately, there are 10 to 15 mileages from my village to go to my grandpa's place. So my mom prepared some food because at that time my grandfather was living alone. Of course, he had children, but my mom wanted to give him some kind of special food on that day, and she had no way of sending it to her father. So I was the person she had to ask some help. So I agreed, and I took the food. She had, packed it in a beautiful way in a bag. So I took it, and I suppose if we have to go to my grandfather's home, we have to take 2 buses. So this was towards evening. Actually, when I left the home, it was 4 o'clock or something just like that, 4 p.m. So to catch the last bus, I had to take the first bus before 6 p.m. So when I took the bus from my home to that place, I was too late. The last bus was also gone. Now I was thinking, as a small boy, I was thinking whether I should go back home or whether I should go and give this food to my grandfather. Actually, I thought, no, it's better to go and visit my grandpa and give his food to him, because it's a good thing. Remember, during this time, it was not a good period of time in Sri Lanka. We were going through a hard time, especially in a riot. In other words, there was a riot in Sri Lanka in which many young people got killed. So the ruling party, I don't know which one was at the time, the government, they killed many young people. So by the time I got this invitation from my mom to take food to my grandpa, Sometimes I had seen some young people, dead bodies of young people on the roads. So I know that the route that I had to take to my grandpa's home was not a good, good route. It was terrible. It was a horrific horrific route to my grandpa's place. Somehow or the other, I thought that it doesn't matter whether it is, whether the bus is gone. I must somehow go on foot and give this food to my grandpa. I have not yet seen such a jungle except the redwood here in, I think, is it in Sacramento? Yes. The route that I had to take to my grandpa's place was, through a thicket jungle. Actually, it was a thicket jungle. So by this time, it was too late. It was 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. No one was ready to give me a ride to my grandpa's place, because in our country, at that time, we did not have a highly developed, transport system. Anyway, I took the food, and now I was walking through this thicket jungle. Except there is the main road, but I had to skip that one, and I had to follow a shortcut through a thicket jungle. And while I was going through this thicket jungle, I know that there is a certain place where I had seen some dead bodies. By that time, I don't know whether those dead bodies were there. Anyway, I had to pass that place. You know that for a person, especially as a young boy, I was scared. Actually, whenever I remember that now I have to pass this place, this particular place, I got the fear that how I can going to pass this place. Is it possible for me? What will happen to me? Will something dead happen to me? Like this, I was confused. I was nervous. By thinking, whenever I am reaching that place, the fear is intense. It's more. The more I reach that place, I got more and more nervous. Somehow or the other, I passed that place, and until I come to my grandpa's place, I don't know how to explain that experience. I was going through lots of fear. Yes. Finally, I reached the place. I got the food to my grandpa's place, and I gave it to him, and he was surprised. He was agitated to see me, this young boy, and he asked me, the first question he asked me was, why are you at this time? Who sent you to my place at this time? And he, of course, he was not happy with my mom's decision. This happened when I was a 9 years old boy. This is a first-hand experience in my life, and today I think after that I thought that even though I did not have a good education as a young boy, from that moment until today, I think that we are the person, we are responsible for our own fears. We build up. We are the person who extend it, expand it, and develop it in a fearful way. This is my actually one of the first-hand experiences I experienced in my life. Now I know that since the day I faced that experience, I was not scared to go at night, to visit any place, faraway place at night, or to go through a jungle. The only fear is whether an animal will attack me. That's the only problem. Whenever I go at night, as a grown-up person, even in the later period of my life, in Sri Lanka, you can see, if you are there, you can see a lot of venomous serpents. Sometimes when I go at night, I'm scared of serpents, some snakes, right? And other than that, I'm not scared. I know that there wouldn't be somebody to disturb me or disturb my mind, because I had an experience, first-hand experience in my life as a very young boy. So with this, I would like to come to that particular sutra Buddha preached for his monks. As I mentioned in earlier part, it is the discourse on fear and dread that you can find in the middle length sayings. There Buddha says, in a certain period of time, even in his life, while he was meditating as an aspirant, by that time he was not a Buddha, he was trying very hard. He says, sometimes when he meditates, he hears some kind of, he listens to some kind of, weird noise, sounds in a jungle. You just imagine, suppose if you are isolated in a thicket jungle, it's very easy to come here and meditate here, because this is a very, this is a secured place. You have some kind of insurance. But you just imagine, if you are isolated in a thicket jungle, in a far thicket jungle, where you can see nobody. No assurance, no security, anything dreadful can happen to you. In such a place, how you can concentrate your mind and meditate? Buddha says that this is, in another way, this is very important to show that Buddha was also a human being just like us. And while he was going through this experience, he said he also faced such sort of things. Heard some weird, some strange sounds in the thicket jungle. And sometimes on the very first stage he got scared, but he did not give up meditating. Instead of giving up meditating, what he did, he took a moment and he inspired, and he inspected what that sound is. So what is happening? Sometimes a peacock falls down a twist from a tree. Sometimes an animal is passing in front of him at night, right? If this happens during daytime, it's okay, but if this happens at night, actually it is dreadful. So Buddha says, finally, if something happens, because this is in relevance to the area I told you earlier, the external stimulus, there are some things that happen in case of fear, and this is the feeling of vulnerability for external things. They will not disturb you, and such a thing cannot disturb you if your mind is peaceful. Then the second one is, it is the defilements, the impurities in your mind. While you are meditating, for instance, I will tell you, when somebody is practicing meditation with crossed legs like this, right? Sometimes you feel whenever the legs go asleep, you feel that whether something will happen to your legs and whether you will never ever be able to stand up again and you feel like stopping meditation. This is a kind of fear, right? If not something something weird, something strange noise here, if you hear, you again feel like giving up practicing meditation. This is all related to the fear. So like this, maybe it is due to ill will, sometimes covetousness, sometimes it is lust. Again, you can have the fear for self-praise, if not disagreement of others. Suppose if we are living a life with disagreement with others, our mind is always perturbed, agitated. It is always disturbed by unnecessary thoughts, because we know that we have the feeling that our life is not in a security, in assurance. So This can happen at any moment. So Buddha says there are only three things that we can use to get rid of this fear. The first one is the consistency in our virtuous behavior. If you are practicing some kind of good behavior in your life, you have got nothing to worry about the fear or anything dreadful will happen to you. Then the second one is, it is the consistency in concentration. Consistency of concentration or mindfulness. Then the third one is the consistency or stability of wisdom. If we can continue these three parts, the three aspects of leading a good life, peaceful life, I think we don't have to worry about the other things. Lastly, I want to say, Buddha says in this particular sutra, I would like to quote this place, how you can get rid of this fear whenever it occurs, whenever it happens in your mind. Buddha says, when fear and terror came to me while I was walking back and forth, I would not stand, sit or lie down. I would keep walking back and forth until I had subdued that fear and terror. What does this mean? He takes some kind of steps to get rid of this unnecessary fear on the spot itself. He doesn't postpone it for the second time, for a second event. He takes some action to get rid of this fear on the spot itself. So this is what I have got to share with you. At least if we can develop, if we can practice some kind of virtuous behavior, some kind of concentration, a great deal of mindfulness in our mind, and with that if we can reach wisdom, I think we can live some sort of secured, some sort of assurance, I mean a life with assurance that nothing, no danger, nothing will happen to us. No one can disturb you. For instance, if you practice loving kindness, the thoughts of loving kindness, no one will disturb you. Even an inanimate object cannot harm you. So like this we have to talk, I mean we have to learn many more things how Buddha has addressed to get rid of this fear. So these three steps, I mean, or if we can develop these three phases in our life, virtuous behavior, concentration or mindfulness or wisdom, this alone is enough for us to live a very happy life and a peaceful life. Thank you.
Thank you, Pannaloka. I think you guys have a lot of questions. Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you for your talk.
Thank you very much.
One quick question. How did you get back to your house? And when did you get
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, it happened during, night, but next day I stayed with my grandpa for a couple of days, and then next day I took the bus. I came during daytime.
Thank you for your talk. I'm wondering about the external stimuli or external events that causes fear. Right, so if I'm walking down the street and someone pulls out a knife and says, give me your money, right, like, since I'm not a very good Buddhist, I would be freaking out.
Right.
Totally stressed out. And someone's, demanding my money, mostly because I don't have much to give in the first place. So, is the idea that if I practice consistency of, virtue and awareness and wisdom, that even in a moment like that, I will be, I guess, like, in control of myself or aware of myself and still not experience fear and just treat this as an event of this person's demanding this and I can choose to give or not, but not have any kind of fear. Is that the idea? Like ultimately the kind of mental place you want to be?
Give them your wallet.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for your question, Nomero. It's very interesting. Actually, if you happen to face in such a place, within such a, terror, horrific, experience in your life, the best thing is try to practice some kind of, again, the consistency, I mean. Try to follow what he or she says. Because if you try to be smart, again, something dangerous, something dreadful can happen. If something dreadful happens, and if something happens to your life, then there is no more, I mean, there wouldn't be a second chance for you to think about it, right? So the best thing is follow what he or he says. Because it's not a big deal for you to earn money or to buy another car or whatever it is, right? But first you have to, you have to be alive. If you try to practice some kind of virtuous behavior or something like that, concentration at that moment, no, it does not make any sense. The fear is inevitable in such a place, but you should have some kind of concrete, how I can say, confidence, with yourself to face such an incident.
So that was a question. So I would definitely give over the wallet. So you're saying, you're saying fear is inevitable. I thought that if you practice hard enough, that you would not experience fear, even in a situation like that.
And what if you're Buddha? But you're not Buddha yet.
I think there's a natural fear response. The thing is that if you can capture that and know that there's another way. When I was mugged, got surrounded by 3 guys, there was the moment of fear, but then the realization that they just wanted my money. So I gave it to them, and they went away.
Did your fear go away at that moment? When you had that realization, your fear dissipated?
Yeah. Basically, I realized what the situation was. And then, if you don't buy into their energy, then you're in control. So just give it. But you're going to be, there's going to be a stab of fear at the beginning. You just don't give into it.
Yeah.
Amazing. The basis, one of the major fears we all have is the fear of death. And that's where it stems from. And one thing, and I don't think we'll ever get rid of that as a human being. However, the one thing about Buddhism is it chips away at that fear through practice. It truly does. We will always be, but Buddhism does chip away from that.
I said because it's not easy to come to that level. If only you are living with such a feeling that no one will or nothing can harm you, for that you have to practice, understand, right? You have to practice some sort of higher level of virtuous behavior and wisdom in your life. Since we are nearing the time, I think it's better to stop this. Anyway, let me share with you one of the experience I had to face when I was in Malaysia, because this is an answer to Homero's question. We were about, there were 8 monks who were getting ready to go to Singapore. We were while we were studying in a college in Malaysia, we need to go for a short vacation, right? So earlier day we went there. We went to the bus, how we can say the bus stand, and we booked the bus. We bought some tickets. So next morning, when we went there to catch the bus, of course the bus was there, but it was a double decker. In other words, we had booked the seats on the upper, upper one. But by the time we, approached the place, bus was actually that guy was also late. He was at fault. So all of the monks, when they went with their tickets to be seated on the upper floor, all of the the seats were occupied by the the commuters. And what happened? All the other monks, they were reluctant. They did not like to travel on the upper floor. So, but we had enough space in the lower decker. So the conductor in Malaysia, normally they have got the conductor. That means a person who issues a ticket. And he came to us and he said that, no, you guys, you cannot travel on the upper one because it's already houseful. You need to go to the lower one. Then all the other monks, except me, the 7 monks, they said that, no, we want that one. Because we bought the tickets earlier day for that one. So it is your responsibility, ask them to go down. So it was an argument like this, right? It happened it took only 4 or 5 minutes. That person, he lost his temper and he threw his book, and he had some kind of a book of tickets, and he had a bag, money in his hand, and he threw it away, and he was ready to attack these monks. Yes, he was somewhat, a well-built person, and he was ready to attack all of us. Yes, he said that, and he used a very bad language also. And now he was coming towards us, and suddenly I went forward. I also had some sort of fear, but I had the courage to go forward. And I go forward and I said, my friend, right? We are not here to fight with you, and we need to go to Singapore, just only go to Singapore. If you say that we have all enough space in the lower one, it's okay. We are totally okay. And what happened, he suddenly, he became peaceful, and he was friend with me, and I shaked with him. I shaked his hand with him, and he said, okay, you go to that place, and that's the one and only place you can go. Like this, this was again a first-hand experience. I know that if I did not go forward and represent the other monks, definitely he would attack all the other monks. The law in Malaysia is quite different, not like here, right? And no action will take against that person. We will have to take the repercussions, right? And I was the person who tackled all the incident. First I had the fear, but again, skipping that fear, I went forward and I rescued all my brother monks. Thank you.
One question. Those monks Sri Lankan or Indonesian?
Sri Lankan.
Okay, you will chant the page 4 and page 10.